the New York Knicks. I'm back. Back in the New York Blues. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, it is the New York Knicks podcast, episode 549, part of Dash Radio. You could also go to the New York Knicks podcast.com/ticket club and get 20% off an annual membership using code NYKP. We got Marc as usual, and we got special guest David. How you doing, David?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining
Dave
us.
Dave's my brother, and he is a huge Knicks fan, and he is here to add some more Knicks talk to the Knicks Already show.
Long time fan, long time sufferer. I said I talked Knicks once they were worth talking about. They are worth talking about.
And season 12 of the podcast, here you are.
It only took 12 years to be worth
It took
talking
12
about.
years. Yeah, exactly.
Since our last show, the Knicks lost to the Pacers, beat the Bucks, lost to the Cavs, beat the Sixers. They won 2-2, and it was one of these weeks where, as a Knicks fan, you were like, should I? Are we awesome, or do I want to kill myself? It's kind of in between. A weird week as a Knicks fan. Dave, what do you think of this week?
You know, I think that in the best case scenario, you got a lot of new guys that are really meant to be core to what the team is going to be this year, that are figuring out their roles and meshing with the old guys. I mean, what an inconsistent week, right? Like, they start the season 5-1, and now they're like just switching off wins and losses. And they're what are they, living and dying by the three, and then getting beat up by teams that just hit threes when they shouldn't be.
Right. I mean, is it bad to be a team that lives and dies by the three? I mean, the Warriors were a team that lived and died by the three, but they were really good at hitting the three.
Well, I mean, they had two of the best three-point shooters of all time, so it's not really a fair comparison.
Right. They just lived by the three. They didn't really die by it. You have players. I guess, is it a bad strategy to be three? Like, the Knicks are shooting about 10 threes more a game. Is that a bad strategy, or is it something like the NBA? The Knicks were near the bottom of the league in shooting threes last year. We want them to shoot more threes, right?
So last year they obviously shot a lot fewer threes, but they had a really high shooting percentage for those threes, right? So
They were number one in the NBA, actually.
yeah. So when I say live and die by the three, I mean, obviously the offense matters, but it seems like their offense is doing pretty well this year. They're scoring a lot of points.
Right.
They got a lot more balanced attack. A lot more people are hitting threes. I think what's killing them is the number of threes the other teams are hitting too. I mean,
It does not help when you're not guarding the Knicks. Apparently have given up the most open threes in the NBA by a wide margin, which is not helpful. I guess why are they giving up so many open threes? I guess that's a big question right now. Like, why is this happening? And since no one wants to answer,
Why is what happening? Can you
why are they giving up so many open threes? Why is this happening? Is this on purpose? Like,
their backcourt is Kemba's not the same Kemba. He's a step slow. Their backcourt just isn't really good at defending. So I mean, hopefully they come up with a defensive scheme where they can, I don't know, switch or get out there a little quicker. But they're a step slow right now, and other teams are getting open shots.
The Knicks' general strategy has always been to kind of everyone tries to kind of go towards the paint a little bit and leave guys open and then recover on guys. That's what they did all last season. Was they would leave guys open but kind of recover on them in the last second, and that strategy seems to not work as well this season. I mean, also a team gets hot, they get hot. You wouldn't think Ricky Rubio is going to have a career. I would think Ricky Rubio, you could leave him open from three the entire night, the entire season, and not really suffer. You don't expect him to dominate.
They also got hurt on the three in that Indiana game, if I recall.
Yes.
It was like unexpected guys hitting threes. I mean, I wonder if part of the problem is, last year, the middle really dominated, right? Noel,
Yeah.
Robinson.
what's his name? Yeah, Mitch Robinson when he was playing, when he wasn't hurt. And then Taj Gibson. I mean, they like clogged up the middle last year. It seems like they're I don't know how many minutes they've all played, but Taj hasn't played a lot. Noel's been hurt a couple of times now. Mitch is out the last couple of games. So maybe that is part of it, that they feel like they need to now collapse inside and they're leaving people open outside.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, Noel and Mitch played one game together too.
Yeah, I think they over double. I think they're doing a lot of too much double teaming. They tend to like kind of everyone tends to like kind of like lean towards the paint because they're worried about that. Maybe they should stay on their man a little more. At least just stay on shooters a little more.
So Noel and Mitch are both injured right now. We're still paying Noah. Can't we just be like, hey, bitch, we've been paying you for the last 4 years. Can't you just stand in the middle for like 10 minutes? Just do
He
something.
was at the Chicago game. I mean, they could have just given him a jersey.
Yeah, just throw a jersey at a bit. Get on the court.
We got you a seat.
I thought Chicago owed us a thank you. We paid Noah to be there for their game. So,
Jesus.
One thing that Dave, one thing that Jay has been doing all these years is something called a Nick effect, where he goes through the games at the end of the year or somewhere in the year where he finds so many guys have like their best night of the whole season against the Knicks. And I thought we were kind of this was behind us, but like this year, Ricky Rubio has the game of his entire life. Miles Turner couldn't miss a three. He's not really a 3-point shooter. I to a certain extent, I feel like some of this stuff just evens out over a course of a long season. There's always gonna be nights where a team just hits their threes, but I think a lot of stuff will look better 20 games from now.
I mean, I think part of this is also just the Garden effect. Everyone wants to play at the Garden. Everyone wants to put their best foot forward at the Garden, right? I don't know. Maybe that's a hokey answer, or maybe the Knicks just bring that out in teams, but it might be the Garden. I mean, there's a lot of lure of people coming in for the last, as long as I've been a Knicks fan. I mean, you go back to like 95 when Jordan comes back, he drops 55 at the Garden. It's just a thing to torch the Knicks on their home court.
Right.
I mean, going with that theme, the Knicks lost both games at home and they won both games on the road this week.
Yeah.
It was a kind of, so the Pacer game, Miles Turner hit a bunch of crazy threes. It was just a frustrating game because the Pacers could not miss from three. Then the Bucks game comes. The Bucks are up by, I think the score was 357-0 at the end of the first quarter. And somehow the Knicks just came back and won that game. It was a goddamn awesome performance. And you get so excited, like the goddamn Cavs. And then the Cavs shoot, I think the Cavs shot 120% from three, which is, they couldn't miss from three. Like with their eyes closed, they couldn't miss.
Of all those games, that second half of the Bucks game was the only bit of Knicks basketball I didn't watch. So there you go. And Mark and I, caveat, were at the Cavs game. So,
I was super excited to see them in person. I don't see them in person that often. The tickets are expensive. They should win. I should let them know I'm coming and they should win that night.
I never know what to expect from this team. It's like they lose to the Pacers, and I'm like, maybe they're not as good as I think. Do I even need to watch the Bucks game? And then they beat the Bucks, and I'm like, all right, I guess they're really good. And then they lose to the Cavs. I'm like, well, shit, I was wrong. They suck again. And then they beat the Sixers. But I'm not too excited about the Sixers. They were missing, 9 of their 10 guys or something? Like, they were just pulling people off the stands to play.
I think also teams are just streaky. I mean, last year, the Knicks started off 11-15. They were kind of around 500 most of the season, and then they won a crazy run at the end of the season, and the record looked pretty good. There were a lot of bad losses last year. There was a loss, I remember, they lost a game to Orlando right before they won in that crazy streak where you were like, this game at Orlando, the Knicks just suck. This is just going to be a bad end of the season. And then the Knicks just started winning games.
I know they won the Philadelphia game yesterday, but they could have lost that game. And yeah, they had guys off the street playing for Philadelphia. That was not a good win, right? That's the a win is a win. And at the end of the season, we won the
It
first
all evens
game against
out.
Philadelphia, and you just kind of look at the record, but that was not a pretty win. And kind of going back to the big guys getting hurt. What was it against the Cavs? I'm kind of looking at the stats, but I remember this. Jared Allen crushed them. Jared Allen had 17 rebounds. Yesterday, Andre Drummond had 30 rebounds, 40 rebounds? I mean,
he was crazy good. First of all, how is Andre Drummond just a backup in our league? He somehow cannot be a star in the league anymore. He was an all-star 2 years ago.
He led the league in rebounding, I think, 4 out of 5 years, and that 5th year was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know how he's not even that old. 2 years ago, people were like, this guy getting a max contract, and now everyone's like, I can get him for the league min.
If I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, he was still in his 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing is weird. I guess he's just not good on defense. He gets rebounds, but he's
one of those guys that's been 32 for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's got Greg Oden disease.
That happened with Gallinari, where we're like, isn't he 45 now? When we'd look, he'd be 28 years old. Man, is that possible?
So last night was a very ugly win. You got it. Obviously, you got to win the ugly games. But how are you feeling about the team right now with all this? Are you feeling confident or
I am always glasses half full. Honestly, I think they're going to win every game. I think they win out. I think they win out the rest of the season.
Okay, let's go through some of the players to see what you guys think of where they are now. Randall, he finally had a big night. He finally was nailing his threes last night. What do you think the story with him at this point is?
I thought yesterday was I don't want to say quintessential Randall game because he's really only done this for 1 year. So it's he doesn't have 4 years of all-star, all performance. But yesterday's game was they needed him to step it up and win that game for them. And he did. He's scoring fewer points, but also I thought he hit a ridiculous number of impossible shots last year. He was always in the corner, time running out, almost like Carmelo Anthony back in the day, just throws the ball up and it went in every time last year. And he hasn't hit those shots, but he hasn't had to because they're spacing the floor so much better with Kemba, with Fournier. Those guys are massive upgrades over Alfred and even Bullock. So
one issue I think for Randall is kind of knowing knowing his role with this team. Before he was I'm the guy that has to score. Now he's I don't always have to be this guy to score, but he has to adjust to letting other guys take over, which I feel like is a bit of an adjustment for him. The world doesn't have to revolve around him when he's out there, but it's also an adjustment because it doesn't have to revolve around him.
I think it's an adjustment. Sometimes the rest of the team seems to be watching him, and so he has to do his whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for the follow. And that's what happens when people follow us.
Yeah.
So
that's also what happens when Randall hits a three.
Yeah.
In my household, at least.
One of those eyes closed threes. Oh yeah.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if you actually they just add that to the broadcast? Anytime they hit a three, they'd be like, "Oh yeah."
So yeah, it's I think he's finding that balance, and he has a lot more options now to go to. So, it seems like he's doing the right thing more often than not now. Maybe the first game or two was a little bit of an adjustment, but now he's oh yeah, these guys can play. By the way, I saw somebody saying that the Knicks should trade him because Obi's outplaying him, and I don't think I agree with that.
Obi's looked pretty darn good. Obviously, that's an insane take, but it's nice that Obi's looked good enough that people are we don't need Randall anymore.
I think we need to pump the brakes on that narrative.
Obi's 7 points, 1 rebound. That replaces a 22-point guy.
He got Obi got 4 points last night. It's almost the exact same number.
Yeah, but if you
Randall got.
extrapolate that over 36 minutes, then, you know.
The Obi. So, but here's the question: Should Tibbs be giving Obi more run? Because Obi has looked pretty good at times. Like
Where
how do we use
though?
Obi?
Where? Like Randall's better. You're just gonna play Obi instead of Randall when Randall's better? It doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe because Obi will come in the game and leave 4 minutes later. Maybe Randall plays 34 minutes. Take a couple minutes away from Randall and maybe do some small ball with the two of them on the floor a little more.
If Obi plays 10 minutes instead of 8, you're gonna be like problem solved.
Exactly.
I
don't know. I feel like Obi is a weapon the Knicks need to utilize.
I mean, if our centers keep getting injured, then Obi's going to get some run at the 5.
Yeah, I guess when Noel and Mitch are on the injured list you're right. Oh, like with how frail our centers are, the problem will solve itself.
I think you will see Obi at the 5 a bunch. You're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of like Obi Julius on the court at the same time for at least the next 3-4 games. And it'll be really interesting to see how they both space the floor.
Well, look at it. Next game is against the Bucks, and Brook Lopez is out. So they're going to be going smaller. It's a perfect opportunity to try that out.
I mean, Toppin also, his defense has looked a little better. Not like he's obviously not like Noel or Mitch out there, but Toppin's defense has looked a lot better than it looked last season. He's a lot more playable now with his defense.
I agree.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a lost puppy out there, that's for sure. I mean, last year he was like, where am I? Where's the ball? Oh, my God, I'm on the court. That's great.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is awesome. Hey, Ma, you watching?
You know what? It's weird. So RJ every year seems to get better. Each year he improves. Obi Toppin, he did some stuff last year. He seems to be getting better. I watch Kevin Knox, and every year he kind of looks like he's the exact same player from the year before with zero growth. Except for he can kind of hit a 3 now.
Well, he's not going to play anymore.
Yeah, if he's playing any serious minutes, we're in trouble.
If he's playing, that means all the other Knicks were on a plane that crashed.
I just think about him every time I see Knox out there, he's like, wait, what's this whole defense thing?
No, he figured out his role is to just wait in the corner. And if the ball finds its way to him, he shoots. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the value. That's what he brought.
So Randall, I'd also like to see him. So the Knicks are getting killed on offensive rebounds, and I'd like to see Randall crash the boards a little more on offense. On defense, because there's too many second chances with a lot of these teams. And Randall, even though he does get a lot of rebounds as it is, he could do more with more boxing out because the second chances kind of kill us some nights.
By the way, this is where the Randall Toppin duo I think could shine because Toppin, whatever you say about him, that guy gets down the floor quick. He loves his fast break dunk points. And so the times where they can get a rebound, a defensive rebound, and he's working down the court, that play has worked out really well. They've actually been able to push the pace a lot faster this year. And I think that's been a part of it.
Right. Everywhere else, Toppin doesn't seem like he knows exactly what to do, but once he starts running, he is a goddamn force.
Yeah, he closes, he finishes right at the basket. That's for sure. He likes that. He likes dunking. He's a good dunker.
I want to see him run. I want to see him dunk. I don't want to see him shoot threes anymore because his threes they look like they're going to hit the ceiling every night, and they just don't seem to go in. But maybe that'll get better. But he's looked really good. So we like what Randall's been doing. What about Barrett? What do you think of Barrett so far? We are 11 games into the season. Barrett looked awesome for a bunch of games in a row. The last 2 games have been not so great. What do you think of Barrett right now?
I think maybe 8 of the games he's looked really, really good. And so he's definitely improved from last season. This is the 3rd year in the row he's improved. He's still super young. And I think the Knicks actually, I don't want to call it too early, but I think the Knicks got a draft pick correct. And I think that's...
I don't think this is too early. I actually
feel like a podcast buzzer for that. Great, yeah, who's the applause? Woo!
I mean, he's arguably the second best player on the team.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be the best player on the team within 2 years. I think he'll be the best player on the team.
by the way, if we had if we had a buzzer for like when the Knicks get a draft pick, right? Jay would be like, "Gotta get the cobwebs off this buzzer. Finally gonna
Where
use
is
it."
that?
Yeah, first time, get the WD-40. First time we're going to use this.
So actually, a couple questions from Facebook. George writes, "Why don't we ever run plays? It's just ISO and kick out." Dave?
That's a great question. I don't know. I feel like with a couple more playmakers and point guards, we should be. I mean, that's the value that Kemba brings or should be bringing. Kemba and Rose, I mean, I kind of like leave the ball in their hands and let them do their thing.
Right. Do you think that, one of the things we applauded Randall for last year was getting a lot of assists, which is pretty awesome. But it means he's handling the ball a majority of the time. Do you think shouldn't the ball be in our point guard's hand a little more often? Like, shouldn't Kemba be running the offense, not Randall? The better the point of having a point guard is to run the offense. Maybe we'd have better results with not just having isos and kickouts.
I'd be curious. I haven't seen any stats on their ISO numbers. I know that it seems like Randall's assist numbers are way down from last year, and that might be a reflection of him not having the ball as much.
I don't think they're that down, actually. Let me look at a quick look at this. I think he's off. Let's see. His assist numbers this year are he's 5.5 assists a game, and he had 6 last year, so it's not down that much at all. Our point guards aren't getting that many assists. I think last night was the first time Kemba has ever led the Knicks in assists in the game.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So you kind of want more you want your point guards to be getting the two of them should be getting 10 assists a game, and they're not getting that most games. And I don't know if it's because they defer to Randall too much, or Rose isn't necessarily at quite the playmaker he used to be. But you really want more of the action being generated out of the point guard, because that'll get easier shots for Randall and easier shots for other guys also.
I don't have the numbers to back this up, but the point guards that we've got right now they drive and dish out, or they go right to the hole. I mean, they dish it out, and I think that's why we're shooting so many threes.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the Knicks also made a conscious effort to shoot more threes this year, so that's also part of it. In the preseason, Tibbs said we're going to shoot more threes.
Let's not forget it's an entirely new backcourt, and it's only 11 games in too. So this could look completely different by game 30.
Yeah, I mean the team. You're right. The team has to. They're trying to shoot more threes. They have 2 guys. 40% of their starting lineup they have to integrate and figure out how to gel everyone together. There are sometimes where the starting unit looks really good, and sometimes the starting unit looks really like what the hell are we watching?
Yeah, I think it's more of a chemistry thing because the talent is there. On paper, these guys should be scoring a ton of points, and it just seems like sometimes they do. They went berserk against the Raptors in that first quarter, but then other games, it's then you get the Bucks game the next day, and it's the Bucks weren't exactly. They were missing a bunch of guys too, and they still just couldn't get it done. So it's very I think they're still feeling each other out.
Do you think Kemba looks bad?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think Kemba's defense has been bad, but does he look really hobbled? Because he still looks like he's got spring in his step. He still looks pretty fast.
I don't think he's hobbled at all. I think he's just a step slower than when he was in his prime. But I don't think he's playing injured.
Okay, because I feel like he still should be able to run the offense like he did, and I don't see why he couldn't still be running the offense as a point guard. I get his defense not being as good, or just being bad to begin with.
Jay, those games that you referenced that they started out slow, and the one against Toronto where they started out hot, they're just chucking threes, man. They're just throwing threes up there. And the games that started slow, they're not hitting them. And the game against Toronto, they couldn't miss. That's the biggest difference between those 3 games.
Fair.
Right. I mean, the last 2 games they haven't been hitting threes, and they're living and dying by the 3. And what do you do basically when you're not hitting the 3? Do you just keep shooting them, or do you change your strategy?
Well, I think the problem comes back to the centers again, because if you're missing your threes and you don't have somebody to eat up those rebounds, then it's just an empty possession.
I mean, the Knicks have, in fairness to them, they have a bunch of guys who are above average 3-point shooters. In the course of an 82-game season, the Knicks shooting a lot of threes probably works out pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, more times than not, more time than not, everyone's not going to go cold. Randall will hit, or RJ will hit, or Fournier. There's enough guys that can hit threes in this team. IQ has not even been hitting yet this year. Burks has not really been hitting.
I was just about to bring that up. Like, yeah, their starters are shooting a lot and scoring a lot of threes. I'm waiting for the bench to step it up. I'm waiting for IQ to bring some of that magic that he had last year and start hitting those shots, because he hasn't been. I think he had a good game against Philadelphia. But before that, I mean, he was kind of a lost man off the bench so far. Same with Burks. Like, he hasn't had one of those massive quarters or stretches like he did last year where he was just, unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Burks is I remember, like, he was in Utah. I didn't follow him that closely. And I know the Knicks got him last year. And I was like, oh, they got Alex Burks. I mean, Alex Burks, like, who cares, kind of. And then I remember the beginning of the season, he had like 3 or 4 20-point games at the beginning of the season. We were like, holy crap, who is this guy they got? He hasn't lit it up this year, but he's not suddenly a bad player. You have to think he's going to have some good nights coming up very soon, will make a huge difference.
To be fair, Austin Rivers also had one of those games last year, and I was like, oh man, heat check, Austin Rivers. This is the best pickup of all time. Mark my words, Austin Rivers will crack the top 5 by the end of the year.
It was like the third quarter where he scored like 25. Like, he had crazy amount of points in the third quarter in one of the games.
Mm-hmm.
Against Denver, I think, actually, before he went to Denver.
He had some like crazy like Klay Thompson heat check moment where, I think it was Denver. He just didn't miss.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, you have to have. I mean, having streaky guys that like sometimes can go off is what you need. Like, if like maybe Burks will go off for you, or maybe one night IQ can't miss. Those kind of things haven't quite happened with the bench players yet. But they should happen going forward.
Yeah, I think there's. See, that's the thing. Yeah, Anthony said that they're 7-4, but I feel like they're not playing anywhere near what I think their potential is. So the fact that their record is pretty good despite that is a good sign, because I feel like guys, they should be getting a lot better by halfway through the season.
Do we agree that where they get better is on defense? I mean, I don't think that like there's a huge like a quantum leap they make on the offensive end. I think it's all about whether they're going to guard on the perimeter and whether they can actually like block up the middle, like with their big guys if they're healthy.
Absolutely,
Yeah, I have to think I think when Noel's been out there, he's been doing a really good job on defense. I think he looks better than Mitch has looked out there so far this season.
The problem is they both missed a bunch of games already, so we need the whole roster playing. That's the problem.
Jay, they're done. They're getting all their missed games out of the way. They're going to be healthy for the rest of the way. That's how it works.
That's good. That's good news.
You didn't know that?
Yeah,
if you average 60 games a season, miss the first 20, then you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Get them out of the way. Anthony writes, why all of a sudden the Knicks have been struggling from deep? Is it energy wasted on defense, literally wasted, or something every team goes through?
I think it's I don't think it's something fundamentally wrong with their 3-point shooting or even their scheme. I think it's just some days you have it and some days you don't, and it's been kind of unlucky lately.
I think shooters are just streaky. Like, if you look at a guy who shoots 40% for the year, 40% is awesome from 3, but that means he's missing obviously 60% of the time. And for the most part, that means there are some nights where he's shooting like 6 for 8 and a bunch of nights where he's shooting like 1 for 5 or 1 for 6. That's just how shooting works.
Do you think changing the ball is having an effect on some of these guys? Like, they're toying around with the synthetic ball and, like, I don't know.
I don't think it hurt Steph Curry last night. Didn't Steph Curry have an insane game?
Well, Steph Curry could probably shoot with a Nerf ball and score 60 points. I mean,
he can shoot with a shot from half court and make them all.
Yeah.
They're having a lot more home runs this year. The ball changing is very different. Wait. Wrong spot.
Yeah, I don't know how much that's affecting things. And also, the Knicks overall, I think, are still shooting pretty well. I mean, up to a couple games ago, the Knicks were the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. Now they've obviously fallen because they've just been shooting poorly. But
I'm just saying there's a
I
lot of
bet-
guys that are shooting really bad. They all happen to be on my fantasy team, but there's a lot of guys who are shooting nowhere near what they normally
who
shoot.
isn't? Who's been terrible?
Jason Terry has been an absolute disaster.
Little known fact: Jason Terry is still in the league.
Wasn't he averaging 20 points a game last season?
Jason Terry?
Not Jason Terry. Terry Rozier.
Oh, I was like Jason Terry, the guy that J.R. Smith like elbowed in the Boston series, is still in the league.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there. Yeah, Rozier.
Oh, Terry Rozier. He's not shooting that well.
It's look at his numbers. It's disgusting. Really, it's not even like it's not. It's beyond not shooting well.
Wasn't he the
a
guy?
problem.
Terry Rozier was the guy that you did not want to come to the Knicks because you thought he was a bad shooter. Because there was like a rumor the Knicks would get him a couple of years ago, and then he learned how to shoot, and Jay was like, "Oh, I really want him," and now he's shooting. By the way, he's shooting 25% three. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Doncic actually has been shooting pretty poorly from three, also.
He's shooting 35% from the field. I mean, this is a guy who shot 45 and 39 last season and averaged 20 points a game.
Yeah, shooting is tricky though. Like he'll probably have a bunch of games where he shoots really well. That's just kind of how it works.
I hope so. Kevin Porter Jr. has been even worse.
You know who's been even worse than Kevin Porter? Michael Porter. He's been terrible.
Yeah, well now he's injured too.
Yeah.
Kevin Porter's shooting almost the same as Terry, only he's averaging 5 turnovers a game too.
I think a lot of this though is like if the Knicks, like Miles Turner is not going to, like guys like that aren't going to go off on the Knicks all the time. Miles Turner or Ricky Rubio. It just sometimes there's by random chance some guys get hot on a given night, and I mean the Knicks need to like obviously contest more threes, but I think this stuff will really even out. I don't think this theme will continue the rest of the season. Famous last words.
There was an element of luck last year. I mean, their 3-point defense, they were at what tops in the league or top 3 in the league in 3-point defense. You know, there were a lot of open threes last year too. They didn't go in a lot of those games.
Yeah,
I think it'll balance out. But
you know the one thing I notice is the Knicks get a lot of open threes also. Like every team gets a lot of open threes. Most threes aren't contested. Like you think about any game, you usually set like how often do you watch guys shoot contested threes? Or maybe I'm watching the Knicks too much.
Yeah, I've seen other games where it seems pretty contested.
I don't know. I feel like the Knicks get a lot of uncontested threes off every game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends on your ball movement. You know, honestly, if you keep swinging the ball around, you're going to get an open shot eventually. It's just the Knicks like to go ISO a little bit, and it slows the ball down and gives time for the defenders to get back.
I think the biggest thing the Knicks are doing is like they have to not double as much, and they don't have to cheat. They have to stop cheating to the paint.
Yeah,
I think the doubling thing is the more like one guy doubles, and because that guy doubles, the next guy has to double, and like it just like creates it makes it easy for a guy to get open.
Mm-hmm.
Paul writes, how much should we have paid Lonzo? The Knicks screw up on not getting Lonzo Ball?
Lonzo's looking good.
Yeah,
Who would you rather have, Lonzo or Kemba?
I mean, Kemba's a lot cheaper. I don't know, Dave, what do you think?
I was a huge advocate that they get Ball last year. I mean, in the offseason, but I was happy with Kemba. I think give Kemba a shot. Like I don't think IQ's like going to be the answer at point guard, and Kemba's sort of like holding a spot for him. I wanted it to be Ball because I think long term he would have been the guy. They look good in Chicago. Chicago looks good right now.
Chicago looks really good. I mean, the thing with Lonzo also is like his defense is pretty awesome. Which it would be nice to have a point guard that can play defense, who could also play offense. To any Frank fans who are going to raise their hand and go, we had Frank.
Oh, God. So Anthony just said that there's a stat that said the Knicks have allowed more than 100 3-pointers where the defender is at least 5 feet away.
Yeah, Marc said that earlier. They've given up the most open threes by far. That was a stat they talked about during the Philadelphia game yesterday.
Yeah, I guess that's a really ridiculous. I guess you can cheat to the middle. You can basically kind of leave guys and kind of try to like contest them as try to like jump out at them. You shouldn't be 5 feet from the basket. There is too often for the Knicks. There's a guy basically will shoot against them where no one even tries to go out. Like the Knicks are just like, you just take the 3. We're not even going to try to.
Yeah, I
run out.
consider 2 feet open. 5 feet is like wide open.
Yeah, 5 feet sounds like you're just like practicing shooting 3s.
Yeah.
Anyone can hit a 5 foot open 3 in the NBA. They all like this is why like Turner is hitting them in the Indiana game. Like he was wide open.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein hit wide open 3s in his practice video.
Right. They say basically if you go to the gym, basically like when the guys are practicing, every one of these guys can just like just hit 3 after 3 after 3 because it's not during a real game.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys are better than than most people think. I think I mentioned it earlier. Somebody was saying like somebody tweeted, "Can you score on Mutombo?" And people were like responding like, "Is he in his prime?" It's like, oh, or no, am I in my prime? It's like, it doesn't matter if you're in your prime. You're not scoring on Mutombo. Like, so ridiculous. People are like, I'll just drive around him. And it's, no, you won't. No, you won't.
I in middle school, I knew someone who said to me, or maybe it was freshman year of high school, who was like, he just didn't like Shaq. And he's like, Shaq's just big and that's all he does. Like, he's like, you could beat Shaq one-on-one. Like, as long as you hit 3s, Shaq can't, he's not fat. I'm like, you'll never get a shot off against Shaq. He will block everything you do. He will make you cry.
Even fat, I'm on the Celtics, Shaq is faster than the average human being.
Yeah, they look slow because everyone around them is just faster, but like they're still like superhumans.
Yeah.
Mark, what's your shooting percentage from half court? That's all like that's the number that matters there. 3/4 court, stuck it. That's your scoring opportunity there.
That would be the only way. Like, well, if I could shoot really well while I'm running towards the other basket, that would be the best way I could beat Shaq.
Back to the Ball versus Kemba question. I think offensively they're kind of like it's a bit of a wash. Defensively though, Kemba's getting killed. Like look at the difference in plus minus numbers between the two of them. I think Kemba's the worst on the team, or certainly the worst. I think he's like a -4 right now in plus minus, and Ball is like a +6. That's a pretty big swing, and I think that's all on defense.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right.
With that.
Yeah. I mean, they both, as far as 3-point shooting, like it's not like Ball's the most gifted offensive player. He's become a decent 3-point shooter. He's not bad. Like he's obviously a good passer, but you're right. He doesn't give that much more than Kemba gives right now as far as offense. It's really the defense that makes a huge difference.
I mean, for what the Knicks are trying to do on offense, Kemba's hitting 45% from 3. That's pretty good. I think that's good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good, right?
Speaking of their backcourt, so I've noticed that Tibbs doesn't always have faith in Fournier to have him out there at the end of games. What do you think about that? Do you think Fournier should be always out there at the end of games?
I think he's a top 5 player on the team. I'm always confused when he's not out there. He was like the best guy in Orlando for like the last 7 years. I don't know. I don't understand it. I really don't.
I mean, I have to assume basically. Fournier's defense better than Kemba, but like it's not great defense.
Yeah, but he
either.
went with IQ over Fournier multiple games this season, and Fournier is better than IQ.
I mean, do you choose trust in Tibbs? You're like, I like when Tibbs experiment. Like, he can experiment as much as he wants. He's earned that right. Or are you really like Tibbs doesn't know what he's doing? Tibbs, who just won 4, who's by the way, we should mention that Tibbs just won his 400th game, and he's the 3rd highest winning percentage of NBA coaches in NBA history.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the answer that's not. He doesn't know what he's doing.
I didn't mean to like to do that, but like I do like when he experiments a little bit because I like when he figures out the hot hand, or I like not being rigid about who's out there at the end of games. And maybe like Fournier is a really good player, but maybe Tibbs just feels Fournier doesn't have it that night.
If it's a situational, he doesn't have it that night, that's fine. But if he just thinks IQ is better, then I'm gonna raised my eyebrows very high.
I think IQ has been doing more than he's been. IQ is giving a lot of effort on defense. He's not been hitting a lot of threes. He's been trying to run the offense. Clearly, he's impressing Tibbs, which says something at least.
Also, Fournier is on my fantasy team, so I think he should be playing the entire fourth quarter.
Jay's like, I just want 48 minutes from every night. It's like, and by the way, can 48 block some shots? I need more of those.
I definitely do. Is that
So
it for
what's-
our
what's-
questions?
Yeah, that was for our questions. What's coming up this week? We got the Bucks tomorrow night. We got Wait, let me pull the schedule.
Yeah, we home versus the Bucks tomorrow.
So home is going to be another loss. What do you think? Knicks can't win at home anymore.
Bucks are really banged up right now. They're missing like 3 starters, so it's a good opportunity.
So
We're
before
not
the
gonna
next,
have any centers too, though. I mean, that's going to be a fast-paced, lots of 3-point shot game.
Yeah, it's going to be a 127-124 final.
is this confirmed? I know Noel had the knee injury. Do we have an update on what the deal with? Like, is he out?
They're both
They're
both questionable for tomorrow, which means no.
I know it sounds crazy, but the Knicks should have brought back Norvell Pell, who probably they still could bring back. He could block some shots. He looked kind of decent. He gives a little more that, like, I mean, we need another backup center.
You just diss Sims.
Sims, I like Sims, but if we really want to win games, I don't think we can have Sims out there.
By the way, Mark brought up Norvell like 6 times at the Cavs game.
I know he Mark is like he complains about Frank stands, but then talks about Norvell Pell like he's the
Norvell Pell could block some shots. He could protect the rim. If you don't have Noel out there and you don't have Mitch out there and Taj can't play the entire game, it'd be nice to have another center. Though I am totally down with Toppin playing some major minutes at center tomorrow.
I thought we already agreed that we're getting Joakim back.
That's
Go
true.
earn those dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be great if anyone like the Knicks had a bad contract on, they could just force him back. They're like, Eddie Curry, get in shape now. You owe us.
I mean, the Knicks are always paying somebody who's not on the team, so they can keep that going. So they have home versus the Bucks, and then they have away at Charlotte, and then home against
home versus
Indiana before next episode.
Well, yeah, what's our predictions here?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the schedule. Come back to me on that.
Okay, Jay. What's your predictions?
I'm going to say 2-1.
Okay.
I think they beat the Bucks again, just to make us get on this. Oh, the Knicks are world beaters train again, and then they lay a complete egg against Charlotte to make us really depressed on a Friday, and then they get revenge against the Pacers.
Wouldn't it be great? Like the Knicks are like playing Milwaukee first round, and everyone's like, the Knicks were 4-0 against Milwaukee. They're gonna stomp all over them.
But by the way, for their 7 wins, like how good do you feel right now? 2 against Philly, Boston, Chicago, Milwaukee. I mean, they're just kind of racking up those important wins early in the season.
So Philly lost to the Knicks, then won 5 in a row, and then lost to the Knicks.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I mean, we just have to be kind of keep it quiet that no one played for Philly last night. But
well, though they all played except for Simmons, the first win.
Yeah, that's true. And Simmons is not playing this season, so or maybe he'll play at some point this season. Who knows?
And Chicago, I don't know if I mentioned Chicago. They beat them too.
The Chicago one was a pretty big win. I mean, Chicago looks pretty awesome, so that was a pretty big win also.
Yeah, Anthony called it. According to Knicks Twitter, we need Sims, Grimes, and McBride all playing 30 minutes a game.
Every time the Knicks blow a game, I look on Twitter and someone's like, if they only have put Grimes in there, they'd win, and McBride, they would have won the game. I'm like, these guys have spent no time in the NBA. They're not going to change the game for us.
You know the guy who has 11 minutes of experience? He would have made the difference over the guy with 10 years experience.
You know, I was curious about this. So the Knicks picked McBride at 35 or 32, and they picked Grimes at 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at all the players taken from 20 to 35. I was just curious, because the Knicks fans are going crazy. Like, how could at least a small segment of Twitter is going crazy and be like Grimes needs to play, McBride needs to play. How is Tibbs not putting them in? I looked, and picks 20 through 35, no one else is playing either. There was one guy that played is playing 15 minutes a game. I forget who it was. Everyone else has barely seen the court. The fact that the Knicks aren't playing them is pretty much what everyone else is doing with the 15 picks around them.
I bet most of those guys aren't even in the league. They're probably in the G League right now. That's hard to get floor time. That's not surprising.
Yeah, if you pick a guy 25 or 35, they normally don't play a lot. We had IQ last year and made us think that the guys picked 25 should play major minutes right away. But it's not normally how it works on a good team, at least.
Yeah, I was upset that the Knicks didn't take James Bouknight. And he has, for the season, 0 points on 0 for 5 shooting. So I feel a little better about that.
The guy, and I forget the name of it, the guy who won 20th or 21st, the one that Knicks could have taken with their pick.
Yeah.
And they traded. And he looked pretty good in the summer league, or had a couple good dunks at least. I was like, I wonder how he's doing. He's played, I think, 2 minutes so far this season.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys might end up being good. It's just typically guys don't. Typically, if you're a top 10 pick, you're playing a lot. Typically, if you're later, you're not playing so much yet.
Exactly. So is that it for our questions?
Yeah, Dave, what's your prediction? Milwaukee, Charlotte, Indiana.
All right. I also don't want to echo Jay, but I think 2-1. I think Charlotte is a gotcha game. I think ball goes off. They give up a ton of threes. It's on the road. I think they're going to even out that whole home road record thing. I think that they win some games at home. I don't think this is their thing. They're gonna step up at the Garden. They just didn't play because we were there.
Yes. I do doom the Knicks. When the Knicks won those 12 or 13 games with Jeremy Lin, I was at that 13th game when they lost. I'm gonna say they probably lose to Milwaukee and then they beat Charlotte and beat Indiana.
Okay, so we're all saying 2-1.
Yeah. I struggle. I kind of want to say 3-0. I want to say 75-0 from here, but yeah.
I mean, that would be really impressive because that means they'd play extra games.
In the playoffs.
All right. So, we are NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter. The New York Knicks Podcast.com is our website. Do you have a Twitter, Dave? You want everyone to follow you on Twitter?
I don't have a Twitter.
Good.
I follow Steve Martin and Michael Ian Black. That's
okay.
It.
So follow Michael Ian Black and Steve Martin. That's what Dave's asking you to do. Last question to you, Dave. Make a couple predictions, or make 1 or 2 predictions for the rest of the season. Some bold predictions for you.
All right, bold prediction. RJ Barrett is an all-star this year.
That's a bold prediction.
That's my bold prediction.
Okay.
I'm going big on RJ.
Okay. I have to say, the fact that he is 21, and I am thinking he's a Knick for life, he's going to be so good over the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be crazy. Right? When he's 28, we're going to be like, I cannot believe we have the best player in the NBA.
Anthony wants to hear you talk about your stupid Jokic tweet that got us 1,000 hate messages and made my phone almost break.
Okay. So, Dave, you used to play the Jokic play last night? No. Do you know what I'm talking about? So, last night, in the Denver game against, who's Morris on? What team was he on?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The Heat.
Yeah.
The Heat.
Oh, the Heat. Yeah. So Morris cheap shotted Jokic, fine. And then when Jokic was kind of jogging away, Jokic came from behind and elbowed him in the back and knocked him down. And I think the first tweet I sent was something like, I look like Jokic's trying out for the 90s Knicks. And then I was like, a guy actually got hurt on this play. So then I said the next tweet was basically he should be suspended, which I think he should be suspended. I don't think a cheap shot like that and from behind, it's a pretty dangerous play. And Twitter's response to that was, "You're a pussy. Jokic should have killed his family and spit on their graves, and you're a pussy." we got like Twitter did not like the idea of punishing Jokic for that.
Really running the spectrum there. I mean, there's no hyperbole at all.
I have to say, people were like going off. I said he should be suspended, and people were going off on that. Basically, they're like, "Come on, Morris deserved it. He's a horrible." They were like, "Morris is a horrible. He's a dirty player. He deserves anything he gets. Jokic should hit him again." Like, people were really going off.
Wasn't Morris the guy that like took the ball and like slammed it on the other guy's head in the preseason, like last year? That's what he did.
I think that was the other one. That was the one that played for the Knicks.
That was his brother. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're dirty players, no question. But I mean Jokic's a dirty player too.
So I have my phone set to give a notification anytime somebody even likes a tweet we're mentioned in, and one tweet saying you shouldn't be allowed to tweet has almost 900 responses. So
Jay's phone lit on fire.
yeah, I'm not happy with you today on your Twitter behavior, Mark.
I mean, I think Jokic's shot at him was much worse than what Morris did. I think it should be a lengthy suspension. I think it should be like 10 games. I may be in the minority here, but I don't think you should hitting a guy from behind. I think it's a lot worse.
Let's put up a Twitter poll. What was worse, Morris's cheap shot, Jokic's cheap shot, or Mark's tweet about it?
I think my tweet about it wins the landslide for being the worst.
I think you're gonna win this one, Mark. Congrats.
Yeah.
Can we get the oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we need our follower and the show on it. Oh yeah.
Okay, so Dave, thank you for joining the show. Hopefully, you'll feel that the team is relevant enough to be on again before another 12 years are off.
Yeah, exactly.
That was fun, guys. Yeah. When RJ makes the All-Star game, I'll be here.
Sounds
Awesome.
good. All right. Thanks for joining, and we'll be back soon.
Goodbye, everybody. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. Go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Everybody.
You have fun, Dave?